Right, okay, as you can see, that fish there is, from the word go, we don't weigh fish. We don't care about weighing fish. And the only reason we counted fish last year is because we had taught the other two members of the team to fish the whole needlefish, that type of lure that you can see there. And it was like, let's just see how many we catch. And we started counting from the 1st of June 2012, and I stopped counting, I think it was the 3rd week in December. And like I said, we've just had just over 1,200, so we're doing okay. That, unfortunately, that size of fish, over the last 20 years, has become harder and harder and harder and harder to catch. 20 years ago, I set foot on Jersey, well actually 22 years ago, and I was a match fisherman in the UK. I was doing pretty well, I was earning lots of money, I was scraping bloodworm, but things happened and I moved to Jersey. Brother had already been there a few years, said, let's go bass fishing. How hard can it be? First cast, bite. Third cast, £10 bass. This is easy. We met guys that were talking about how they caught 200 doubles. Those same people now don't fish for bass anymore, only fish for mullet. We've met commercial fishermen that have been fishing for 30 years and they've been making a good living out of fishing for bass. Bought houses in France, bought houses at home, and now they're painters and decorators. Because the amount of gear that's going in the water to catch this, even the same number of bass has not just doubled, it's tripled and quadrupled. And the lobster fishery has been fished down to a 1-year class. And they put in 5 times the amount of pots to catch the same number of lobster as what they did 10 years ago. And no matter what you try to tell these people, they are blinkered to the fact that something must be wrong with the fishery. Each year, from 20 years ago, visitors used to come to Jersey in the Jersey Bass Festival and do particularly well. You could expect to come, not knowing the area, being given a few tips, and off you'd go and you'd catch 3 fish here, 5 fish there, 17 fish there. You'd have no control over what size they were because there were so many bass. You would see them chasing mackerel up the beach, women would go in with the skirts and they'd catch the mackerel jumping out of the waves. There was that many fish there. And now you could walk up and down the beach all day long, every day, all year, and not see one. So, we weren't happy with this, so we decided that if we were going to maintain our catch rates, we would have to either beat the diminishing curve or give up. And we weren't prepared to give up. So as you'll see during these slides, and we do 5, 6 and 7 mile round trips wearing wetsuits, being swept 3.5 miles out to sea in the dark, with seals like trying to grab hold of you and pull you down to the bottom, and we find ourselves kayaking and being swept up on rocks that you don't even see coming. And we have to learn to be self-sufficient because we're outside of the zone where help could come from the shore, and we're inside of the zone where help could come from the sea. And because Jersey's got no air sea rescue defences, we're basically on our own. This is what I'm saying, so whatever you see on these slides, please be aware that you,
don't just jump in.
If you want to go, emails and telephone numbers, just phone us up and come and do it with us. We would rather people come with us for free and learn to do these things safely so they can apply it at home, rather than us read in the paper next week that somebody's gone home, tried it and died. We would hate to see that. Right, I'll switch this up a minute. Right. I was given a magazine to read, done by Bass, and it was the first one I'd ever seen. And a guy called Dave Hilton, who was nice enough to pick us up from Birmingham Airport and wait in the snow, showed us this magazine, and I was quite impressed with it actually. I thought it was going to be some sort of horrible, like, newspapery type thing, but I was quite pleased that it was a glossy magazine. And we noticed in there that people were talking about the concept of bouncing soft plastics around. This is something that we've been doing for a long, long time. It works at home, it works in Ireland. Tramore, absolutely deadly area for it. Anybody that ever goes to Tramore should look at these methods. But where you'll see that we are using an open jig head there, when we went to Tramore, what, 3 years ago? Yeah. You will find that there are areas of sand where a jig head bouncing along the bottom is perfectly good. But strangely, there's not so many bass on those barren areas. They tend to be near where the reef are and the kelp stalks. So we've now moved on to straight lures that are weedless, because you can actually bounce from where the fish are without losing your gear. So it's all about presenting a lure in a way that the water does the work. So this is where the watercraft side of things comes in. We do not actively impart action to the lure unless we are forced. At no time. If there is a current stream, we'll let it do the work. If there is a wave, we let it do the work. If there is an eddy, we let the eddy take it. And if we are not in a place where the water can do the work, we are in the wrong place. We will move. So, for those of you that fly fish, and I'm pretty sure there's quite a lot of you, you will see there the concept of a lure being cast up current, bouncing along the bottom, drifting around in front of you, and then you stop your line and the current lifts the lure, induces the take, fish on, game on. You can do this anywhere there's moving water. And then people say to us, we don't get moving water where we live. Look at your Admiralty charts. Water moves all around the British Isles. Moving a lure in a straight line, however, when it's attached to a fixed fulcrum point, which is you, the angler, isn't that straightforward. For a fly angler will mend the line. A lure angler very rarely does. Yet experiments have shown that you can mend braid just as effectively as you can mend a fly line. But it takes practice. So if you are in a position where you need to get a lure to run in a straight line down a run, like Tramore or an estuary or wherever you want to be, the moment you cast in, your lure will swing in an arc. It's not natural. You don't see cars driving down the motorway. You do if they're drunk. But it's all about a lure arriving to a bass or to a fish,
trout or anything,
in as natural a way as is possible. So if the current is flowing from me through this alleyway to Mr. Jones, and you're my target, there is no point in me swinging my lure across the room where it's going to snag, or across that way. I would want that lure to swing or to bounce to you. So as we move through, we'll be talking about things like float jigging. A float with a lure underneath it that you then let run. If it's the best way to present that lure, it's what you will do. So, needlefish. Everything that we're going to talk about today will all come back to this. A basic piece of wood, it's got some weight in it, and you cast it out and you catch bass. It's as simple as what it looks there. It's basically a piece of wood with some weight in it that could be at the tail, it could be in the middle, it could be in the nose. It might be half an ounce, it might be an ounce, it might be 3 ounces. It might be 4 inches, it might be 6 inches, it might be 12 inches. You give the bass what they want, and you try to cover what is naturally in the water. Now for us, maybe around 3-4 weeks' time, that will be sand eels that are in the 4 to 6 inch band. We affectionately call fish that are in the 2 to 3 pound band or less sea rats. So don't be offended by that. It's just that we can be inundated with millions of them. And we don't like to catch lots of sea rats because we don't feel that we're doing them any good. You know, you put in like 3/0 and 4/0 hooks into fish that are only like this long. Not good. But for years we thought that if we get on a group of fish that is 1 pound or 1.5 pounds or 2 pound, that fish run in year classes. We based most of our angling theory on this, and we would purposely move. If we found that we were on 2 pound fish for an hour, we would move. But we have since learned that we were actually way off base. We have now figured a way of taking 8 pound fish and 9 pound fish out of groups of 1 and 2 pound fish, just by changing the type of stick that we throw into the water. Not just based on its size, but based on its frequency and how much water it displaces when it's in the water. We'll get into that a little bit later.